I'm Eddie Krawiec.
I'm Andrew Hines.
I'm Angelle Sampey, and this is The Skinny.
From Fathead Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny. We have an exciting show coming your way today with one of the most iconic teams in all of motorsports. When you think about NHRA and some of the big names, well, certainly Force, Coletta, and Schumacher would come to mind. But one would be remiss if they didn't also include the team Vance and Hines. The team and the company have been winning for 40 years, and we have all three very talented and extremely successful riders on the show.
We both tune our own motorcycles, so Andrew's crew chief on Angel's and his, and kind of he oversees mine, and I kind of do my own thing with mine, and it's because we think the same on a lot of stuff, but we still have a little bit of a different view, and by doing that, it allows us to kind of try 2 or 3 different setups every race. And what I mean by that is we take what I'm doing over here, we take what he's doing over here, and we take what hers is usually somewhere in the middle of our two. And now when we make one run down the track, we now have 3 runs of data. And what that allows us to do is usually going into Saturday, going the right direction. We've been struggling, I would say, as a team. Maybe the results last year didn't show it as much, but I would say we struggled. We didn't run where we think we should have with any of our motorcycles. Her bike, the greatest thing about it is, and we've never had this luxury, is it's got so much ballast on it and weight where it needs to be. Like her tuning window is the garage door. Andrew's and mine is like
the window on the garage door.
Yeah, I was going to say, run into one little section of that window, and that's where ours is. And that's a huge benefit because, like, when the track gets greasy on us, a really tight track, we might be able to go 105 consistently. Her bike goes 103, 104. Track gets really bad, greasy, and NHRA's kind of changed their prep procedures and everything that they've done in the last year to kind of harness the top fuel guys. And what I'd like to say is kind of slow the sport down. But our stuff will go 108, 109, and tend to knock the tire off, and her stuff goes 105. And we're like, man, what the hell do we got to do? It's like we got to cut our legs off and put an extra 40 pounds on the front of the bike.
And that's what we love about it. And if you race at a level to win a championship, all those little minute things that become so important. I mean, to get into the hunt is one thing, but to then be good enough to actually go out and win is a whole other thing. And like you said, I mean, just that 2 or 3 pounds over the front tire that can make a difference, and a couple of hundreds, 200-300s in your first 60 foot, and then the rest of the deal's done. It's over right there. So it's just incredible how important those little details are.
We've tried racing. I'd say the success in my career was always ride and race to be there and be good all the time. Don't do stupid mistakes and try not to push it too hard. And if you have a really good motorcycle under you and you are really good that day, chances are you're going to win.
Yeah, there's not a lot of times where we come back to the trailer and probably really never, that our crew guys are just disappointed in what we did. They understand that we've done enough to get where we are now, that if we go out there and, we might have a bad light and cut a 50 or 60 and get beat on a hole shot. And that's probably the great thing about our team is they're not...
Yeah.
They kind of go with the flow.
Nobody's dejected. Yeah, man, you screwed up.
We come back to the trailer and tear down and move on to the next race. That's kind of our mentality. We don't. The preparation we do at our shop here in Brownsburg is really. I mean, that's all our work is done here. We get to the track and people may not see us working that much at the racetrack because we've done so much preparation to get to each and every event. You see some other teams out there and there's chaos going on sometimes, and
they're rolling in the track, no motors in the bikes, no nothing. Yeah. Bikes are all apart, got to put them together, and it's like we say, we go to the track to race, we don't go to the track to work, and races are won and lost at the shop.
Yeah. If I go out there and I fail to perform, I really feel bad for the guys on the team because they're the ones that are putting it on the line. They're leaving their families, they're at the shop endless hours when we ask them to be, and if there's some reason we don't turn on our win light because it's a rider's fault, that's when it comes home to hit me that, hey, I just let my team down. But we come back to the trailer and they fight through it and they say, hey, we'll move on to the next one, we'll get them.
I mean, we even told Angelle that when she came aboard, that was the number one thing was we're not going to sit here, yell at you, and beat you up because, like, Terry's probably only ever called me twice after, like, a loss, and not to yell at me, to ask me, hey, what are you thinking? But it's like you go through these funks as drivers or racers or whatever it may be, and you got to battle out of that, and that's the key. And that's what I told Angelle is there's no extra pressure. You're not trying to prove anything to us. You're here because we know you can do it. If you make a mistake, you make a mistake. Just learn off your mistake. As long as you don't make that same mistake twice or 3 times, we're all good. And I think that's the key to really the fine balance of being a racer to a championship caliber racer.
Yeah, nobody carries that nasty attitude. If there's a nasty attitude on the team, that person's got to go. So it only takes one to ruin all of that atmosphere, that chemistry that's so critical to winning a championship. And I agree with you. Everybody knows they're good. Everybody's really good at their job. And you have a ton of confidence in all of your colleagues on that team. And when somebody makes a mistake, it's like, hey, man, I made a mistake. It happens.
Yeah.
You know, everybody buckle down. We've got the best in the business. We'll go get them next time.
And I think it makes it even better when you go back and you say, I screwed that up. Yeah. You know, you don't go back like, it's the clutch lever fell off. You know, it's like, no, you let the clutch lever out. So no, I mean, it's just the way it is.
I've got to ask you, Eddie, because I have to get an impartial answer. I can't ask him. And Angelle hasn't been on the team long enough. The same level of engineering intelligence that Byron has that acorn fallen close to the tree with both Matt and Andrew? Do you see that with those two?
It's kind of the same thing right now because Andrew for sure thinks about the technical side of it. I think, Matt does it the old school way where you're just kind of the trial and error where you're thinking and you're doing stuff. He's thinking about it on the engineering side of it and trying to put a theory or a reason behind it. And that's the way that you can kind of print out your roadmap. And what I mean by that is when you have proof and you say, this is why it works. Not, well, it works, but I'm unsure why it works. So when you go back to it the second time, it's going to work. It's not a question of if it is or isn't. We've kind of done that with our motorcycles with programs and clutch programs. And everything we've done over the last probably 2 years has a road to why we did it and a path to how we got there. Matt's been an instrumental part of the whole program from when he came on back in 2003, basically, all the way on to the last 2 years, and he still is back at the shop. Matt's been back at the shop working, doing things like that. He's the one that designed the chassis that we're riding on now. We've kind of went to the next evolution with Angelle's because being that her bike is a little bit heavier than ours, it needs different tubes in certain places or thicker stuff because you're hanging so much weight. I mean, there was a couple races last year. We broke frame rails on her bike. We didn't even know it till, we didn't like telling her, because she was like, oh my God, these guys are going to touch my motorcycle. And you go walking in the shop and the thing's all apart. And she's like, guys, we got to go racing tomorrow. And it's like, oh, we're only 45 minutes from having it together, and it's like, there's no way. But, it's about making sure, I think, first and foremost, everybody that gets on that motorcycle is comfortable. But to answer your question in the short one, I think it takes the engineering side of it nowadays because what you're racing against is, in all of racing, is brain trusts in each camp. And you have to match that brain trust.
So, Andrew, do you build stuff on the computer? Do you run simulations versus, say, like you said, Matt, old school? Like, I know if we do this, it should work. We'll try this. But you're running simulations?
Right, yeah. We have CFD and FEA analysis on our SolidWorks stations. And, the whole chassis is designed in CAD. It's designed to be stiff in certain areas and flexible in others. All the bodywork and all the airbox pieces and all that was designed in CAD, cut in our shop at Vance and Hines for the carbon molds and things. And it's just kind of, it's one of those things you can't turn it off. You go home at night and I close my eyes and think about family, but what my eyes are seeing is what's on the computer for the next day. So that's it's an unfortunate thing, but it's part of the
it's not a job for you. It's your life.
Right. You live and breathe it.
Whole different thing.
I'd like to add a little bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Jump in there.
Yeah, I can't bring back the feedback to the trailer like Andrew and Eddie do with the motorcycle. Like he said, there's a lot of rider input and you have to know whether to believe the motorcycle data or the rider. I'm not there yet, and I don't know if I ever will be able to give them the information that they can bring back. So Andrew is exceptional at watching my runs, whether he's standing on the starting line or viewing the video, or even sometimes he's come back with changes after watching the television show. He has so much to do with the success of my motorcycle. And I know that I didn't show it last year, but I hope to show it this year, how awesome he is at not only, designing the things that I need. I mean, he designed the brake lever and the seat for me. There's so many things he's done to make me comfortable on that motorcycle, but he's also helping me drive it just from watching me with the little feedback that I can give him. So what he's able to do on the engineering side of it, to me, is amazing. Just like you, I had no idea what he was capable of. I've learned so much over the last year, and I brag on him all the time. I don't know if I make him uncomfortable or not, but he is truly amazing. And I couldn't have ridden the bike as well as I can today without him, and even Eddie. I mean, they've both just been amazing at helping me learn how to do it. But Andrew's really made me comfortable and done everything that he can do to make that bike fit me to a T.
I mean, if you're going to schmooze somebody, it might as well be the owner's son, right? I'm just kidding with you. I'm just
Or
kidding
the guy
with
on
you.
the keyboard.
Well, I mean, it
They
was
were
like,
just laying up there. I had to at least hit it, you know? It's like,
Hey, Angelle, remember that one day you said something bad?
well, it was like early on, we're both giving her information, and then we talked, and we both came to the agreement. It's better if one person just kind of picks and says, this is what you should do, because otherwise you start getting direction from too many areas. I mean, that was part of Matt's deal when I came on the team. It was, hey, if Eddie fails, you fail. That was what Matt kind of got told, and that's what he got told. And so that's the important part. And it was kind of the whole deal with Angelle coming aboard. It was like, hey, this, we're bringing the girl on underneath you two guys. This is on you two guys to make sure she goes down the track. I want to see her succeed. He wants to see her succeed. None of our team guys want to see her fail. I mean, we want to make sure she could win. And, that goes for me. It goes for him. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, there's only going to be one winner. Whether it's him, me, or her, I don't really care, because I think it's a team win at that point. I'm kind of at that point in my career where I'm past having to win. It doesn't mean... it doesn't mean that I don't want to win. I want to win, but it also means to me that if I'm part of the crew or I'm part of this success to get to that trophy, you accomplish something. You didn't accomplish it if nobody got it. And I would rather see somebody get it than in my camp than somebody else get it.
yeah, I mean, a goal of finishing first, second, third in the points would be, an incredible effort, out of the team. And everybody's a winner, at that point. And everybody comes back and gets to play again the next year, too. So super important. Hey, Angelle, I want to ask you something. You say you don't know that you could come back with the information that these guys are coming back with, but I want you to go back into your championship years when you won 3 of them in a row. And what was it like with George at the time? I mean, when I'm guessing George played Andrew's part where he was watching and had a bunch of information to give you, but what were you coming back to feed George at the time? Did you feel like you had the information that these guys give back now?
Yeah, I think so back then, because I was so used to the Suzuki. I knew every single thing it was supposed to feel like. If something changed, I knew it changed. And there's still a bit of information overload on the Harley Davidson that I'm just not where they are yet. I'm consciously working on so many things where they can do so many things subconsciously that I can't do. It's just a lot of information to take in. I'm getting better at it. I know if it lays off at the top of a gear a little bit more than I used to, but not like them. I mean, they can come back and they can tell you from the bottom of the gear to the top of the gear if any little bitty thing went wrong. And I just can't feel that yet. I'm getting there. I hope to get there. But like I said, if I don't, Andrew pays attention so well. He knows what to do. There's just been times we've met downstairs at the hotel for breakfast, and he walks in and he says, hey, I thought about it last night and I know what we're going to do. And then he'll change something. He's changed my riding style. One morning he said, we're going to try this. And then he's changed things on the bike. We're going to try this. And every time he says that, it gets better and better and better. He hasn't made a wrong decision yet. So I wish I could give more data, and I'm going to really try to do that this year. I'm going to try to learn and pay attention to what the bike's doing. But I know that if I can't, I'm still in good hands. I know I'll get one of those yellow hats this year. I'm pretty confident about it.
Hey, I got another question for you. Reading some of what Matt did back in the day, I think he had been to in his first 5 races or something like that, but had yet to reach a final, and the bike was fast. And he said he had a secret conversation with Terry, and then the next race he went to the final round, and then he won the 2 following races back to back. So I'm curious if you had a secret conversation with Terry, or has Matt ever told you about that secret conversation? And the same to you, Eddie.
I'm not sure if Matt ever shared that with me. That's a new one for me.
It was probably part of a bonus incentive program. Like, hey, if you win this race, you get 50% of the bike earnings. You know, it's like,
your dad won, I won. You're the only one stinking it up here. Maybe pick up the pace, huh?
I kind of went through that early on in my career with the team, and it was like instant success. I jump on a motorcycle, I go to Gainesville 07, and I tested. I think I rode the bike. I think I made 8 passes before I went to Gainesville. And we go to Gainesville, and I go to the semis. Tore all sort of up. Broke 2 motors. Just not my fault, but, I mean, stuff just broke. And it was like, man, I went right to the semis. I was like, this is going to be good. And then, second race was like, okay, I think second round. Then I had a DMQ in Atlanta. And I'm like, oh, this sucks. And partially it was because of me. I was having a hard time riding the track, and I never really rode a bar bike in Atlanta, and the right lane pulls you hard right. And I was on a run that would have put me clearly into the middle of the field, and the thing just hooked hard right in the right lane, and I had to shut it off. And I'm like, man, DNQ. I couldn't believe that. And so I kind of went through that whole path, and the next thing you know, I started doing pretty good towards the middle part of the year, went to some finals with Andrew in the other lane and Brainerd and stuff, and next thing, I went to a final in semifinal, lost in Denver. My throttle cable broke, and then went to the final in Sonoma, and the bike bogged against Matt Smith. I mean, I could tell you.
We can tell you all the races that were bad.
Yeah, and so it's like, okay, so I'm going to all these final rounds, and then 08, I go out there, and I'm like a gangbuster going to finals, and I still can't win a damn race. What the hell? And then finally 09 rolls in, and I win a race. I win Atlanta, my first place that I had a DNQ on the Harley. So it was like a bittersweet deal, but it's so crazy. I really do believe once you get there and you learn your path to winning, you learn how to not overthink it. And that's the key. Like, man, as soon as I started winning in Atlanta in 09, it was like win. And then, finals. And
I'm like, what did we get ourselves into here?
it all clicked and it worked. And I really think it's about understanding how to get there. But even more so, it's about calming your nerves, knowing that you have the ability. And once you know you have the ability in a champion's mind, you become unstoppable.
What was that mindset like? I mean, you're coming to the end of the year. You've got a shot at this championship. Hey, man, I can win this championship. I haven't won a freaking race all year long. Which one do you want to win the most? Of course, a championship is there. It's like, that's going to solidify my ride for next year. I got to hang on to this, but I want to freaking win, man.
I to this day, I still am confused about that championship. Like, I won the championship. I mean, clearly, but I still don't feel like I won the championship. Like,
yeah,
the year
I didn't either. I didn't feel like we won it either.
Yeah, I
was pretty mad about it.
It's like I tell everybody, I'm like, the year that I feel like I won the championship was actually 09 when I lost it by 2 points to Arana, because I went out there, I went to 11 final rounds, won I think 9 races that year. I crushed it, I killed it. And it was like at the end of the year, I had nothing to show for it. It was like, okay, I didn't win the championship.
One of those years where any other time what you did would have certainly won the championship, but it was only good enough for second place.
Yeah, I mean, Formula One guys were commenting on my championship deal. Everybody, like, that was a huge thing across the motorsports industry was, man, that guy just won a championship. People are saying, well, you shouldn't have won a championship if you didn't win a race and this. And I'm like, well, I won from being consistent. That's the way I viewed it. I was the most consistent rider all year long through that segment. And, it's great. I love it. To me now, it's like the icing on my cake. That's a story that you could just talk about.
Only second person in NHRA history to do that. Yeah. And he had a couple of wins in the previous year.
Yeah.
You had 0 wins and did it, so you do hold that honor, I think. I'll give you the nod.
That was what, Gary Beck in 1980 or something like that?
It wasn't Gary Beck. It was
Rob Bruins.
Yeah,
Rob Bruins.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was around, what, 8 races a year or something like that?
Yeah, it was like,
here we are racing 16, 17 events a year, and you would think at some way you'd find some... Now... It wasn't a points race. He did win the money at the battle.
I won the battle
so
that year.
He did have some hardware. It wasn't a Wally.
Something.
But
I got the big paper check that's $75,000 and a crystal trophy. So that was cool. But man, it's an interesting ordeal. But I don't know. It's still one of those weird things. I still say it to this day. The championship year for me was 09 when I didn't win it.
So what typically goes on behind the scenes at the racetrack? Are you guys nudging each other all the time? Is there always something going on? I mean, we all see the Penske games going on with Newgarden and Pagenaud, and all those guys are always doing something silly. You guys, is there ongoing stuff behind the doors of the trailer?
Oh, there's constant ribbon going on. It's just you find if anybody shows one little weakness, then our team has a way
of honing in on it.
Oh yeah, you find that little rift and you just slam it open with a knife. But
we have a couple guys on it. Like Scott, our engine guy Scott. He's
quirky.
Yeah, but man, he leads himself right into that road, and it's like, you watch, I'm going to rip the hell out of him right here. And it's just, you blast him. And it makes it fun. I mean, those guys, well, I was going to say, I kind of got the nickname Haskell, Eddie Haskell. That's because it's just the way it fell, and that's what our truck driver Ray calls us. Ray works on my bike. Mike Mullaney is on Andrew's bike. And then my brother, actually, we brought aboard last year, works on Angelle's bike. So we have an interesting dynamic. Everybody works along. I think Angelle could probably give you the most insight on that because she was the one that would always be in the trailers outside of ours. So everybody always said, well, you could bleep here. So it's like, oh, there's the, it's like when you look at
they don't have any fun in that trailer.
No
but
personality.
It's like, we are there to race. When you see us, we're there racing. We're thinking about, and the reason why we don't have any fun at that particular point is because we're thinking. We're constantly walking around thinking. But when the time comes to have fun, you got to have fun. If you're not,
it's true.
It makes a total stress environment.
I mean, most nights
one of the things
we're all
is
walking around
when
with a red Solo Cup. So
yeah,
makes for better nights.
And when Eddie's driving the rental car, you better to just wear your helmet. So that's what I'm going to start doing this year. I'm going to wear my helmet.
She's sitting all the way in the back. She's like, you hear like,
She started bringing motion sickness pills with her to the races. She's sitting in the back of the minivan.
I know how Eddie drives from. I've watched him at bottom of the barrel a couple of nights.
All the bottom of the barrel drag races. I've told Andrew about that on Memorial Day
Jimmy
Monday.
the Shoe.
Yeah, with Harrington, and I mean we'd all buy. Heck, I've raced I was going 1080s in my cousin Chevelle at the time against Harrington with 9 people on the golf cart going like 1330. To like the 60 foot 1330. But he was running out. I think he dialed in like 31 seconds, and I dialed 1080. And it was the weirdest thing coming up on a golf cart going like 30 miles an hour, and I'm going $110. It was pretty cool. But
so Angelle, talk to me about that situation where your husband had left and there was a motorcycle sitting there, and he said, hey man, ride that thing a little bit and make sure the cobwebs don't grow on it.
God, you know them stories way back, don't you? Those are days I try to forget about. But yeah, that was true. I was married to a guy named Kevin. He went off to the Gulf War, and he had a motorcycle that he didn't want to go bad sitting there. And so he didn't mean for me to take it to the racetrack and drag race it, though. He just meant like take it around the block every once in a while. And when he came home, it was stripped. I mean, stripped to the bone. We had taken the headlight, the blinkers, cut the seat, did everything we could do to it, put wheelie bars on it. I think I had an air shifter. I can't remember. But I was drag racing it. It was not going to be on the street ever again. So he wasn't too happy at first. But, went to the track with me and fell in love with the sport himself, and we started together. So that's where my career began. So thanks to that motorcycle that he left behind, or I probably wouldn't be here today.
Yeah, I read that story, and I'm like, that's pretty cool. A guy comes back, and she did what I asked her to do, I guess. I didn't know she was going to. I didn't know you had stripped it and cut the seat and all that stuff as well. Yeah. I thought you just put a slick and wheelie bars on it.
No more good to the street after that, but. I got off of that bike. I ended up buying a friend's motorcycle. It was a Super Comp, Suzuki Super Comp bike. Did that for a little while, and then found out about Frank Hawley's drag racing school and wanted to go there. Had never been on a big tire bike. That was my biggest fear, but that was completely eliminated after the first burnout. And the rest of the story is got hired from Frank Hawley's drag racing school by George and started racing with Star Racing. I mean, my career started when I was 6 years old on dirt bikes. That's where I began racing motocross with my brother and my dad, and it just evolved over my whole life. So I'm completely obsessed and addicted to motorcycles, and started racing against the Vance and Hines team like we talked about before, and wanted to beat them more than anything in the world. And then I thought my career was over actually a couple of years ago when, lost my deal again and figured it's time for me to stay home again. I had already retired once, and if I retire again, I'm not coming back this time. And then Andrew and Eddie called and asked if I was going to be at the PRI show, and offered to have breakfast with me, which was really strange. Why do these guys even
These guys must be bringing me to make fun of me about losing my gig.
What are you going to do, poison my pancakes? What's going on here?
Exactly. And the really weird part was, so they take me to, what was it, guys? The breakfast joint?
Flapjacks. Yep.
Flapjacks. So it's like, that's where everybody goes to eat breakfast, right? All the racers are in there.
Oh, the best Brownsburg has to offer right there.
Yeah, and they're telling me nobody can know about this meeting we're having. Then what the hell are you taking me to Flapjacks for? So we're in there, and the whole time we're sitting at a table, they're constantly looking at the door, looking up, see who's walking in, who's looking at us. I'm like, this is so weird. I don't know if they're planning to kill me.
We were just looking at a sticker with the bill. We were like, we could tell if somebody's coming and go like this and get the bill and leave.
I really had no idea why I was there. I had thought that maybe they would ask me to ride on the team, and then I laughed at myself because that was just utterly ridiculous. That's never going to happen. I didn't know why they wanted me there. And then we started talking about the possibility of putting a third bike and would I be interested in riding on a team? Yes. That's how fast I answered it. We're thinking about putting a third bike. Would you be? Yes. And they said, well, don't you want to hear what's going on before you say yes? I'm like, nope. Yes.
No, you had me at breakfast.
Yeah. Made her eat donuts. Donuts is like her week. Her week. It's her kryptonite. Let's just say. So
I don't know why they want to get me to get fat, but they're constantly trying to make me eat. And even Andrew, I have so much respect for Andrew. I'll tell you how awesome he is. He had a New Year's resolution that he was going to not have any sauces for the whole year so he could lose a little weight, right? So we get to the very first dinner this year in Orlando, and he orders some sauce dip or something. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought you said no sauces. This was in March, right? 3 months into the New Year's resolution, he goes, oh, that didn't last the first week. So I was like, how am I going to stay on this diet that I want to be on when Eddie's sticking donuts in my face constantly? Andrew's ordering every fattening appetizer on the menu. They should be 240 pounds. I don't understand how they eat what they eat, and they're not big. They're little. You can't even tell. I mean,
they have a deal disgusting. Like they have the same deal my wife has with me. See, here's the thing: she eats and I gain the weight. It's a partnership. So they've got somebody with them that they eat, and then somebody else gains the weight.
That's funny.
Yeah, I read that that at the age 13, your parents were finally trying to get you off a motorcycle and said, "We have a son, we want a daughter." Mm-hmm. But it was a battle. You didn't want to do it, and then you've maintained that. So you're also heavily involved in MMA. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's how I met my husband. I was training in MMA. I'm a jiu-jitsu girl, and he did full-blown cage fighting. But that's a true story too. My dad forbid me to ride anymore because he was sick of the tomboy I had turned into. So my mom attempted to put me in beauty pageants thinking that would fix me. And the only thing it did was made me even more competitive. It was another way to compete. And we found that I was in all these pageants. We were doing 10, 12, 15 a year, and I was getting third runner-up, second runner-up, first runner-up at just about every one, but never queen. And so my mom decided she was going to go in and ask the judges, what could we do to get her over the hill to where she would, get that title? And they told her that one thing we could work on is to get me to talk about something other than motorcycles. Because in my interview, every question they'd ask, I'd somehow lead into talking about motorcycles. But it's just something that I've held true to my whole life. I can hear a motorcycle coming from 5 miles away and nobody else hears it. And then, 5 minutes later, they're like, oh, there it is. I love it. But yeah, I did the pageant thing. We did everything to try to keep me off the bikes, but it never worked. And now my mom and dad are my biggest fans. They fought me for the longest time, but they're the most proud of me now.
I can hear it now. Let's make the world a better place, and everybody should ride motorcycles. So thanks to all three of you. Best of luck. Hopefully we get through this quarantine deal that we're all battling, and we can get back to racing. I know the fans want it. We want it. I'm not sure what this schedule is going to look like, but we'll battle through 2020 here and hopefully put it behind us and move on to 2021. But best of luck going forward. Absolutely a pleasure to have people of your status in here, and and see who you are. Just good, hard-working people, that love to race, and I think that's what's great about this racing industry. So thanks a lot. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks
It
for
was
having us.
fun. Thank you.
That's it. We'll wrap it up. Another show here. Now you know the skinny behind Vance and Hines. Thanks for watching this episode of The Skinny. Be sure to check out all the latest sun and optical eyewear at fatheads.com. Special thanks to our sponsorship partners at Elliott's Custom Trailers and Carts. This has been a production of Fathead Studios. Please remember to subscribe.